Hello and welcome to Part 1 of Managing Church Records. Part 1 will focus on a records management program. My name is Jennifer Barber, and I am the archivist for the Desert Southwest Conference of the United Methodist Church. I'm going to talk about why it is important to manage our church's records and how to set up a records management program within your church. This video is a basic overview for pastors, church secretaries, administrative assistants, committee and group leaders, or anyone that creates and works with church records. What is a records management program? It is the task of managing our church's records so that we have what we need on hand to conduct today's ministry, to dispose of those records we no longer need, and to see that valuable records are preserved. The basic purpose of a records management program is to answer that question of what do I keep, how long do I keep it, and when can I remove it. A records management program applies to any and all records created within the church. I understand. This sounds like another one of those time-consuming things that you've got to worry about. Well, it's not. The records management program will actually help make things easier. Removing older records will mean less stuff to worry about, to have to sort through, and to keep track of. It will help assure that records of importance and historical value are preserved, so that our future generations not only know what we've done, but why we did it. A records management program will also help guarantee that we follow state and federal laws concerning our records. For example, we all know to keep financial records for 7 years. But the reason behind that is a federal statute stating that if we are ever audited, we must present 7 years' worth of financial records. It is a very scary thing to realize you do not have the records that the government is asking you for. A records management program will help ensure that we keep those records that are needed, as long as they are needed. Within the United Methodist Church, there is also an expectation of openness. It is written into our Book of Discipline that, and I quote, "In the spirit of openness and accountability, all meetings of councils, boards, agencies, commissions, and committees of the church at all levels shall be open, and documents distributed in open meetings shall be considered public." That means we have to keep track of all of these records and documents and be able to provide them when asked. A records management program applies to all records, not just the paper ones. Today, most of our records are electronic, created and maintained on computers. Treat your digital files like you would paper ones. Create similar file structures and name everything so that somebody else might be able to find it. Treat your file folders the same, be it paper or digital. Please remember to back up your records. We suggest that you back up your vital records on a monthly basis. Backups on CDs or on flash drives are not a good idea. Cloud storage is a good idea. There are many services and options out there to help you. We have a saying in the archives world: locks. Lots of copies keep stuff safe. Make multiple copies of your backups. Keep some of them off-site. That way, in case something does happen to your church, you do have another copy available. There are a few key terms I would like to go over. There is the records management program. This refers to the entire thing. There are record schedules. These are charts which list types of records, how long you need to keep those records, and what the final disposition might be. Record series is another name for a related group of records. Permanent records are those must-keep records that have an important or historical value. Vital records refers to those records that are necessary for the day-to-day running of our churches. And then there's disposition. This is the final step in what happens to our records. Are they destroyed or transferred to another location? The record schedule is the most helpful part of the records management program. It's a chart listing the types of records, the number of years to keep them, and what we finally do to them. The first column is the records series title. The second is a description of those records. Sometimes the title isn't too clear. The description field will list the types of records. The next column is total. This is the total number of years we must keep those records. If you look down the column, you'll notice there's some numbers, but there's also the word permanent. Records labeled permanent are those must-keep, permanent, forever files. The next column title is current. This is the number of years that you should be keeping those records in the church office or other easy access storage location. The numbers in this column are more of a suggestion than a hard and definite rule. The last column has to deal with the final disposition. Do you transfer those records to the local church archive? Well, if it says yes, you do. If it says no, then you dispose of those records. Now in the last column, there are a few that say no, but then say go to archives. Those records should be going to the conference archives. That's me. Listed below this video are links to this full schedule, as well as a more detailed narrative of the record series titles and what they include. Please download the schedule, look it over, and feel free to contact me with any and all questions. The final step of the records management program is disposition. After the records have reached the end of their time, you will have two options. The first is destruction. It is suggested that you shred all documents. That way, you are guaranteed that anything containing personal information will be properly disposed of. Go through the records before you shred them to make sure nothing of important or historical value will be lost. The second option is transfer. You will be transferring anything of important or historical value to the church archives. The church archives can be any place where you store your historical records of your church, be it a closet, a shelf, a room, wherever. In some limited cases, you'll be sending records to the conference archives. That's me. Let's review the records management program. The first step is to identify the record series. That will help inform you on the total number of years you need to keep those records. What is the current number of years you need to keep them in the church office? And finally, what is the final disposition of those records? Is it destruction or transfer? I suggest labeling your records from the start, either on a file folder, a sticky note on the outside of a file cabinet, a text file in a digital folder, or a label on a box. Some way to keep track of what the records are and what their retention is. How long do you have to keep those records and what their final disposition will be. Make it clear so that anybody can follow. Thank you for watching this quick overview of a records management program. For more information, there are 2 guides available from the General Commission on Archives and History. Guidelines for managing records of the annual conference and the local church, and Guidelines for managing electronic records. Both are available for free on their website. Links have been provided below this video. There are more resources available on the Conference Archives website. Their link is below this video as well. As always, I am available for any questions. My email address and phone number are provided. Coming up on September 2nd will be part 2 of Managing Church Records, focused on historical church records. Thank you for watching.